Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Have you acquired your first hamster and you sent him to an expedition? And while the features sound super simple, now you have a lot of questions because you don't know what attributes to put. On what expedition should you send your hamster in the first place? There's some people that asked exactly those questions in the comments. What best area to add points and level up the hamster? Now that I've gotten the birthday bob hamster, I would love to see content on tips and tricks for the expeditions. I would really like to know your opinion about the hamster stats, and could you please advise before getting the first one? Does someone know if you have two hamsters, can you send the second hamster on an expedition if your first hamster is resting? So there's a lot of different questions that you guys have, and I'm here to answer everything. In today's video we're gonna cover the most basic stuff about the expeditions, for example where you can get a hamster, up to the more advanced stuff to which attributes you should focus on to maximize your profits from the expeditions. And we are getting of course started with the ways to acquire a hamster. Every now and then in Rollercoin you will have events like this one, and when we participated in this event we got the birthday bob, the new hamster, basically for free. This one was relatively cheap, and the other hamsters always have been sold in a kind of landing sale that you would have found here on the top in one of those banners. Most of the time those hamsters always cost you any form of cryptocurrency like Dogecoin, Ethereum, etc, and you would of course then need to have a lot of these coins prepared already, but we of course never can know which of the currency the hamsters are sold on, and I made a separate video of how you can acquire cryptocurrency apart from Rollercoin so that you are prepared for this kind of sales. And of course those events like the voting event that is ongoing at the moment could happen in the future again, but we won't ever be able to tell if this is going to be for Roller token again. I really think that this is a one-time thing that they actually implemented here, and we should expect the next hamsters to cost cryptocurrency again. At the beginning, when expeditions have been released, we were also able to get two of the hamsters from the season pass. Maybe in the future we're gonna have hamsters in the season pass again, even though the Rollercoin team say that we don't. Sometimes they are changing plans, so this is something to always look out for in a new season. This could be a potential way to acquire the hamster in the future again. One more way to acquire hamsters sometimes is giveaways on X. I really recommend that you are following the Rollercoin team here on this platform. As you can see in this post, they give away 100 exclusive anniversary hamsters, which is the birthday bob, the new hamster, and you just need to follow the claim link and basically do the tasks that they are throwing at you there, and then you have a chance to acquire your first hamster basically for free. Now that we know how to get the hamster in the first place, I will show you a real quick example of how the loot looks when he comes back. You just click the claim button and then you will receive whatever he brings you in that moment. For example, now here we got 28 cents of roller token, 40 season token, and 100 wires, also one miner with 1% bonus power. And that was the birthday bob that I sent on a 3-hour expeditions, and now that he came back he is leveled up and he has an attribute point. And of course this hamster has really low stats at the moment, and now there's the big questions: what stats should you focus on if a hamster has really low basic stats? And I'm gonna use the birthday bob stats here as an example and as a reference. This one came with 30 health, 30 strength and 10 luck, and health and luck is the most important in terms of survival. The more health and luck a hamster has, the more is the chances of actually coming back with loot and not failing the expeditions. And also the amount of stats the hamster has is going to unlock loot inside of the expeditions, and as of the moment of recording the video there is no way to reset the stats, and the hamster has a maximum level of 50, so you need to be really careful and actually mindful about what stats you are pushing. And in the case of this hamster I'm gonna go with 60 health, because at that point we're gonna unlock some really juicy stuff, and the rest are gonna push into luck, because health and luck, as I said, is the most important stats to focus on in terms of survival, so that you are actually raising the odds that he doesn't die on the expeditions and brings your stuff back. So let's go for health here one more time, and to give you another example of how I distribute the stats is the uncle hamster, which is a relatively new hamster now, and he came with 85 health, 85 strength and also 30 luck. And in this case I'm going to push health and strength both to the maximum, and then I'm gonna go the rest into luck to just basically boost the survival rate again, but also to automatically enable him to have a higher chance on the highest loot inside of the expeditions. And to make my point here, I want to show you the loot of the actual 24 hours expeditions. As you can see here, these expeditions always come with a tiny attribute icon here on the top and also with a number behind, and as soon as your hamster is fulfilling the stats that you see here, it has the chance to acquire the loot from the expeditions when he comes back. And the moment you're not meeting the attribute attributes, your hamster has basically 0% chance to bring any of this really cool stuff here back. So it is very important to at least meet the criteria. Also, it is important to note that these rewards inside of the expeditions are changing every now and then. So you would need to check this every now and then to see if you are still meeting the attribute requirements for the things that you really want. For example, these season tokens used to be way higher attributes. Now we can get them with 85 luck and health and strength, but maybe in the future this is gonna be 98 again, or maybe even 100, and 100 is the maximum of each attribute. So I would recommend to boost at least one of the attributes to 100 if the hamster's base attribute's already high enough. Otherwise you might miss out the chance to get really juicy stuff here in the future if they are changing this to 100. So just always keep an eye on this. It's really important, guys. As you can see, also we have a lot of different thresholds. For example, the highest roller token is 1k that we can get at the moment, and this is with 90 of either of the stats. And I think that you are going to be able to get multiple times 1k drops if you have multiple stats higher than the actual threshold. And I noticed this because a lot of hamsters from me now have more stats than one on the actual thresholds, and in some cases, now that they reached a lot of stats higher than the actual threshold, I got multiple cases where they brought back multiple of the same thing already. So now technically it could be that one of them was a golden card and one of them was a white card, but I think that you're not only unlocking these rewards here one time, but every single time you're actually reaching the threshold with different stats to basically be able to get multiple of the same cards. So this is pretty insane. Also, you can get a lot of parts and stuff from the expeditions, so you need to check what stats your hamster has, and in base of that example that I just gave you, you know now how I actually distribute the stats and what is the reasoning behind that. So in the Uncle Hamster case, I'm gonna go with 100, 100 and the rest into luck. And as you can see here with Big Daddy, I followed the exact same scheme. I pushed one of the stats that was the highest one at the beginning when he was released to 100. Then I got health to a relatively good point, and the rest I pushed here into luck. In the case of Gilly, I really want to reach a stat more than 90, so I'm gonna go full health mode here. So he's gonna end up with like 95 plus health to actually get this really juicy stuff from the expeditions. And in the case of Cowham, I was going with health first. I was pushing strength here to 40 to get the hands on more of those rewards with this threshold. And now I will push luck to at least 70 to unlock more of the rewards with 70 luck. And then probably the rest are gonna go into health to basically just boost the survival chance. Now that we know a lot about attributes, you would need to know how to level up your hamster the fastest way possible to basically unlock all of this really cool stuff in the expeditions. And I will give you another example here. The Uncle Hamster is almost level up, so I will send this one to a 3-hour expeditions. As you may have noticed, the different expeditions have different durations, and the longer the hamster is on an actual expeditions, the more experience he is going to receive. And because of that, the 3-hour expedition will of course give you the least experience for your hamster. 12 hours gives you a little bit more, and 24 hours gives you the most experience. And what you should do is basically always check your experience bar, and if you are very close to a level up, then you should send him to a 3-hour expedition to basically not waste too much time on 24 hours, to just get your attribute point and get him into cooldown of resting as fast as possible. And then the next time you send him on the longest expedition that you can if he's already level 10 or higher. And before that, I would recommend, now let's get into the birthday bob again, to send him to 3 hours expedition for the first couple times, and then to 12 hours expeditions if he's like less than 300 experience needed for level up. And afterwards I would recommend to only send him to 24-hour expeditions. Another really important thing about the level ups of the hamster is that it cannot exceed an entire level. So for example, if I get the birthday bob to a 24-hour, he needs only 75 experience, but 24 hours of course give way more than that, but he will only go from level 3 to level 4, and the rest of the experience is lost. Also, you only get experience when the hamster successfully comes back from the trip and he doesn't actually die, and he only gets experience if the expedition failed after you claim it for roller token. So that is very important, guys. Once you actually want to level up the hamster, you need to have it successful in either way. Of course, if you have a lot of hamsters, then you want to maximize the loot that you get, and in the 3-hour expeditions you will get loot 7 times, in 12 hours you get it 9 times, and then in those 24-hour expeditions, in this one I think you get 15 drops and here only 11. So if you want to maximize your loot and you have a handful of hamsters, then now you could potentially send the lower stat hamsters on 3-hour expeditions and the higher stat hamsters on 12 hours, depending on the actual amount of experience they need for the next first level. And if you have a hamster that happens already to be maximum level on level 50, then you can just send him to whatever expedition fits your schedule basically. So I could now send the uncle hamster on a 12-hour expedition, but then the other hamster's cooldown is already done, so I could then send those ones to 3-hour expedition to just get the most loot out of it, and then send Big Daddy either on a 24-hour expedition or 12 hours to just basically cover the time that the other hamsters are on cooldown to always get the most loot possible. When one of your hamsters is inside of the expeditions, then you cannot send any of your other hamsters to expedition. It can only ever run one at a time, so even if you have a lot of hamsters in the future, you would basically need to make up your mind with a schedule of who to send next, because you can never have them participate at the same time. And also very important to note is that when one of your hamster actually fails the expeditions and you're not claiming the rewards, that now your cooldown time will be doubled, and for example Big Daddy will go to sleep for 24 hours, meanwhile all of the other hamsters will have 48 hours of relax time. It is important to come up with a plan of which hamster to send into which expeditions and in what time frames to basically have the hamsters inside of the expeditions as much as possible. It is not only important to know that you need to maximize the loot, but also the actual loot, because depending on the expeditions you are sending your hamster into, the rewards are going to change. Here for example the highest miner at the moment of recording the video is 1p in power and 5%. Meanwhile in the 12-hour expedition you already can get the miner with 41p and 7% bonus power, so this is a huge difference in drops if you are actually getting the jackpot. So this is very important to note, guys. You not only actually need to maximize the amount of loots you get, but also the chance of acquiring the loot that you actually want to have. For example, here you can get 1000 roller token, and in the 12-hour expeditions it is the same. You can get 1000 roller token. So in case of the in-game currencies talking, it is not that much of a difference at the moment. The only thing in between the 3 hours and the 12 hours expedition that will change is the reward value that you see here, and this basically just means it's a multiplier of how much really good loot you can expect to get from these expeditions. And the lower this number here is, the lower of course is the percentage that you will receive any of these really crazy golden jackpots. And in base on that, you of course already see here the crazy rewards value of the 24-hour expeditions, where it's 8 compared to 5. So here you have a way higher chance to acquire one of the golden cards that you see here. So in conclusion of that, if you are getting 24 hours expeditions done most of the time, you will receive more golden cards in the total of 100 drops, let's say. But of course it always comes with a risk, because of course the longer the expedition is, the higher is the possibility of course to fail this. As an example, the Snowlit Avenue has 9 difficulty compared to the 3 hours one that is difficulty only 2. And here it comes into play what I said at the beginning with the attributes, because the higher attributes your hamster has, the less chance he has to fail. And of course if you send a hamster that has low attributes into the 24 hours expedition, then he maybe never succeeds and he always fails the expedition. But if you send him to 3 hours, then most likely he gonna survive that. And on the other hand, if you are sending Big Daddy to a 3 hours expedition, you're basically wasting the chance to get really crazy loot from the 12 or 24-hour expedition. And of course this one has a way higher chance to actually succeed in one of the higher expeditions. Then you have these hamsters like Cowham and Gilly, and Gilly fails 12 hours expeditions all the time because his luck is really low. Meanwhile Cowham actually survives it a lot more often already, but in comparison Gilly's base health was way higher at the beginning, so he will have a chance in the future to get one of the best drops from the expeditions. Meanwhile Cowham never has the chance because he is just not having the high enough base stats. So every single hamster that they are going to release in the future has a lot of potential, I think, and all of the hamsters so far are really good. They just have a lot of different stats, and you need to actually follow different kind of strategies depending on the different base stats a hamster has. So in total I think the expeditions are a really good addition to Rollercoin, and I cannot wait about all of the things that you share in the comments, what they brought you back already from the expeditions. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I see you in the next one. Bye!